Right, we are live. Hello, hi. Can you hear me, Doc?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, technology is wonderful. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream from geographically disparate corners of the planet. Thanks so much for having time, Doc. I appreciate it. I know this is a busy. I'm keeping you from lunch. That's how dedicated it is.
It's nearly lunchtime. Yeah, I'll get hungry in half an hour or so. So it won't be a long session.
No, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's probably good for everyone, right? Nobody wants to hear us banging on all day.
Well, I wouldn't mind listening to the people I invite on the show all day. That's for sure. But I'm happy for every little that I get. So first of all, can you introduce yourself? I mean, I know who you are, sort of.
Yeah, I'm Dave Syer. I'm on the spring team since quite a long time, 2009, something like that.
No,
So
5 or 6, not 9.
nine, yeah, 9 was the VMware acquisition, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so 2005. You're right. It's even longer ago than I remember. Nearly 20 years. Blimey. Yeah, so I mean, I'm still an engineer basically, but I'm now what they somewhat laughably refer to as the technical lead for Spring open source.
Nice.
So I'm supposed to kind of have my fingers in all the pies, I guess, and make sure everybody's happy and moving in the same direction together. And sometimes I feel like I'm successful at that, and sometimes I don't. But yeah, I'm still an engineer, and if you read the source code in Spring, you'll probably see my name.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Around.
Spring Batch, Spring AMQP, Spring Integration, Spring Boot, Spring Cloud. I mean, Spring Framework itself.
Yeah, I haven't done much actual code in the Spring framework, but some. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mainly contribute bugs to that and feature requests.
Yeah. Oh, you mean file bugs?
File bugs, yeah. I file bugs, and I badger people about them. That's kind of
yeah. No, I add them.
My role.
Yeah. Okay. We had you on the show. I encourage people who for whatever reason have been living under a rock, who don't appreciate just who the good, the great, the amazing, the legendary Dr. Syer is, to go listen to that episode or episodes. But we are joined by some people from all around the world. Have you been seeing the chat here today?
I can't see it. Maybe I have to log in.
Oh, there's people saying hello from, let's see, we got people from Uzbekistan. We've got people from, let's see, not everybody's telling me where they're from. We got somebody from Kazan City, somebody from
I can see it. Yeah, I can see
Morocco, and somewhere in Europe, and Seoul, Korea, from Germany. Hey, Thomas, there we go. That's the,
Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, that's good. Somebody's asking, how do I like Malaysia, and is the Spring community strong here? I mean, it's a first world country. It's amazing. There's a huge community of people doing amazing things here. Yeah, it's great. All around the world, people are doing amazing things.
You did a jug presentation last night, right?
I did. That was really fun. People here are super cool, and I did like an hour and a half, me rambling about this, that, and the rest, and then they didn't have they gave me like 6 to 9, right? So I could do whatever I wanted with that. So I did like an hour and a half, and then it just turned into like people coming over, hanging out, and I just did demos. I mean, I did a whole intro with people huddled around me, right? Looking at AOT and stuff. I mean, people just had great questions. They're really, really good. It was a good crowd. Yeah, that was a fun show. And then I fell sick afterwards, and I spent the evening and the morning just open sourcing stuff in the bathroom. And
bummer. Well, sorry to hear that. I hope you're better now.
Yeah, much better.
Otherwise,
thank you.
What are you doing? Live streaming when you should be sleeping?
I mean, I was live streaming this morning in the bathroom. Kind of stream,
That's the wrong kind of live streaming.
Yeah. Let's see. Hey, there's Simon. Good to see you, buddy. How are you? So we have some questions here. Can you see some of these questions already?
Well, I can see them actually, but when I looked at the comments, my fan, I don't know if you can hear that, but my computer's going completely cracked.
You're running Slack?
I don't know. No, yeah, of course. I mean, but in the browser, which doesn't usually matter. So I don't know. Oh. Yeah, we'll be fine. As long as you can hear me, just let me know if it's degrading.
Oh yeah, that sounds fine. Every now and then your screen goes green, which is fitting for somebody working in the Spring team.
That was probably me fiddling with the video settings in case I was using up too many.
Resources.
Yeah, but it didn't seem to make any difference. Something else is probably going on. I don't know.
Well, so this is the cost of, like, you can run crack and Docker images without any extra stuff, but video. It's the one cost.
Yeah, it's definitely Chrome that's going crackers. I can see that on top, but
I use Chrome. It is a bit of a punching bag, and I feel bad. It's kind of a cheap shot at this point, but it is preposterously inefficient. I mean, it is so bad. And then I look at the I build my typical Spring Boot demo in my talks, and I get a native image that starts there's 105 megabytes of RAM, all in with the actuator and Tomcat and data access and all this stuff. And then I look at Chrome, and it's easily 3 gigs of there's like 100 different processes in the activity monitor, maybe I don't know, maybe 20 different processes, and easily 2 or 3 gigs of RAM across all these 20 different Google Chrome helper processes, and it's just like, well, my application might double.
It's not the worst thing in my limited experience, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of bad, and it's definitely what's chewing up. I don't know what's doing it, but it's having this video stream.
Yeah,
that's really bothering it for some reason.
And
it doesn't. It works with Zoom. It works fine, for instance. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I wonder to what extent is it possible to manipulate or impact the APIs used for video streaming? I wonder if Zoom uses a different API in Linux than Chrome is using.
I don't know. I mean, there are pretty standard, low-level APIs for all that stuff, right? That everybody probably uses. I don't know. It's not my area. Thomas is asking is about HTMX.
Right, and we're going to get there. But we have another question first, which is, how does somebody become a part of the Spring team? And we get this question a lot, and it doesn't matter how many times I answer it. I think people want to hear it from the source.
I don't know. I think the most common route is just to get involved, right? Is to send us code and make sure that we know who you are, because all the people I can think of who've been successfully hired on as team members and stayed have been people who've been part of the community.
Yeah. Either you contribute amazing code, in which case we hire you to keep doing, or in my case you contribute terrible code, in which case I hire you to divert.
You just shout about it really loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello from Israel. Hello. Hi.
Hi, Scott.
Yeah, I don't know. The Spring team, there's a lot of. So somebody even mentioned there's a lot of GitHub projects, not just the Spring projects, but Spring and Spring Boot and Spring Framework and all that. We'll have an ideal for contribution tag or label or whatever.
Yeah. We try quite hard to be welcoming. I mean, sometimes we're spread a bit thin and we get busy, but it's
sure
there are plenty of opportunities, I'm sure.
And it's really cool because you get really smart people who. It's not like we have, first of all, enough headcount to do this, let alone anybody on the team that would qualify. But it's not like we assign the intern to respond to these ideal for contribution issues. These are the same people who are the leads of the projects, responding to these ideal for. So you can get mentored by, like you or somebody else, just.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's a disadvantage for us. So the Spring team, the engineering team is very senior, basically. We have hardly any junior developers. We have none, basically. We don't have that role.
Men or women.
So that sometimes that is kind of sort of counterproductive because it makes it difficult to jump the bridge, right? Jump the chasm, doesn't it?
Right. To meet them where they are in terms of their
exactly. So we've never had interns, for instance, and one of the reasons for that is because we're all remote as well, and so there's nowhere that you can go to sit with the Spring team. That we're just on the internet. So I mean, this is it basically. This is how we work, right? You and me. We've been practicing our presentation for Spring 1. And
that's gonna be
Josh has been in Asia and I've just been in London, and that's the way it is.
London is. I love London. I saw you in London a few months ago. I don't know, earlier this year. That was nice. It's very rare we all get to meet.
We don't often see each other in person. That's right.
Yeah. So I would encourage everybody who wants to. I mean, the reason I'm going to Spring 1 is because I want to see all my teammates in the community in person. Right. That's. And I hope everybody else will register as well. What is it?
That's a good point. I mean, for us, that's basically the only opportunity we have to see each other, guaranteed. It's once a year at Spring 1. There are other conferences that you can sometimes bump into people, but Like,
Yeah.
and actually not even the whole team's going this year because it's in August, which is kind of not very good for anybody in Europe. Everybody's on holiday, so we're both going, but it's going to be mostly US people, I think.
Right. On the other hand, I think people who do go will have more opportunities. I can't commit or anything, but I imagine there's going to be more opportunities for people to hang out with people in the spring team just because it's Vegas. You're all stuck in a hotel, right?
Yeah, we're not going to go anywhere else, that's for sure. Nowhere else to go.
Maybe take a day and go see the dam, I guess. But we did a spring one in Vegas years ago.
We did it once before, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. After a week of it, you come outside and you go, oh, the sun's still there. It's like you're stuck in a hotel for the whole week and you don't even know the sun's come up and gone. We just end up like a rat in a maze. All these hotels. Oh well. Let's see. Anybody? Any advice for someone who's looking to switch from .NET to Spring and Linux-based systems? We should get Dr. Pollack.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a few people on the team who concentrate on .NET, right? But that's not my area, so I can't say anything. I'd be more interested in going the other way.
Two Windows? Oh yeah. You are over the years I've known you. You just don't seem to be able to sit still with your stack. So what are you using VI or NeoVim or Emacs?
I use VI for quick things.
Mm-hmm.
And sudo VI /etc/hosts. That's kind of my style. But
right.
Yeah, I use VS Code these days for everything.
Wow.
I was a big Eclipse user. I was kind of one of the team members. There are a few still who use Eclipse, but nearly everybody uses IntelliJ, right? So I feel like I should be the odd one out. I should do something that other people are not doing, just so that we kind of see how other people work. But I got into VS Code because I was doing a lot that wasn't Java a couple of years ago. I mean, I'm kind of back in the Java groove now, but I got so used to using VS Code because I was writing Python, JavaScript.
Right.
Thomas just mentioned Htmx, so I did that article a couple of years ago on front-end frameworks. And that is still an interest, so I'm not losing track of that completely, but I do value some of the features in VS Code that I can just sit there and use any language, basically. C++, C, WASM, Rust, doesn't really matter. There's some good tooling for everything.
Yeah, it really is quite good. The Java support, I would say, is not quite the best in the industry, but it's certainly number 2.
It might be, yeah. I mean, it uses the same language server as Eclipse, so in principle, it has all the features of Eclipse. It just for me, the muscle memory is different. So switching from Eclipse to VS Code, I just had to learn different keyboard shortcuts. But apart from that, it pretty much does everything that I need it to. Sometimes it's not one-to-one, but I'm happy enough using it now that what's really good is
multimodality,
sort of live debugging and remote and container-based development. So I can run a VM on a cloud somewhere, and I can do my development in there, or I could run it on a Kubernetes cluster and do my development inside the cluster. It's really good at that kind of thing. I gather that IntelliJ is getting some of those features, right? But
slowly,
I haven't seen that yet.
Surely.
Yeah. I heard the word dev containers and IntelliJ the other day together, so I think they're doing something, but I don't know what.
Yeah, but it started in VS Code, absolutely.
And it's kind of its own standard now. There's a devcontainers.io website, I think, that's and
that's amazing. It's an amazing thing to be able to just but to jump on a project effortlessly, and.
I really value that because literally, sometimes I have 100 things on the go. I'm not exaggerating, and most of them are going to be in the browser, right? Because the GitHub has code spaces, and basically, if I'm browsing code and I want to go a little bit deeper, I want to do a search or find a reference, that kind of thing. I just open up code space and bang, you're in there. And so sometimes I've got yeah, probably dozens, if not more than 100
Wow, that's true. It's now the default on
IDEs
GitHub.
open. Yeah, yeah.
The
GitHub has I don't know if you want to show that, but there's there's a
opening.
little green button on the repo at the top of every repo now. It is for me anyway. I don't know if that's the same for everybody because they do change the way that the UI looks depending on who you are, right? But
Same for me. Maybe we have the same thing, but I've noticed that when I go to a random Git repository, it used to say clone the HTTP or the SSH thing. Now there's this whole tab that is the default for code spaces.
Just says code space. Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. So those features are now in IntelliJ. Simon confirms, and there are some new improvements there in 2023.2. Very cool.
Excellent.
Anyway, I was going to say Visual Studio Code. In my estimation, maybe it's the number 2 Java, but it is in a lot of communities the number 1 for something. So, for example,
well, yeah, Java definitely lags behind, but like I don't know why you use anything else for nearly everything else that I've done in the last 5 years.
JavaScript and Python and CSS, and it just seems to be it's either number 1 or number 2 in every category. So why would you bother? For a lot of use cases, it just seems perfectly good. Okay, so Simon suggested one way you might get involved is to start rewriting documentation for Antora, which is that's one of those things where the Spring team has been moving to a lot. We have a lot of projects now with Antora. I saw Rob's tweet the other day. Let's see. Oh, this is the problem with going onto Twitter, which is every time I do,
you get distracted. Don't do it.
Well, but there's also this great photo of wherever Stefan Nicole is right now. Some beautiful vista. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We've got Spring Framework. We got Spring Security, Spring LDAP, Spring Session, Spring Authorization Server, Spring Security something, Cabarros, okay. And we've got the Spring Data Commons, okay. And in progress, I've got Spring Batch and Spring Data JPA, all using Antora already. Right? Or
that's good news. Yeah, Spring Boot and Spring Framework are the big ones, I guess.
Yep, and Spring Framework is there, and I guess
Spring Framework's already there. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be huge. Antora is a great answer to a question we've long had, which is, we wrote everything. Why can't people find anything?
Yeah. Well, let's hope. Fingers crossed. It seems like it's a good solution. We had to do quite a lot of work to adapt it, right? It's not kind of vanilla Antora, or maybe now, but it wasn't when we started. Antora is a kind of publishing framework, so it takes ASCII doc to input and from lots of different sources and turns it into a book basically. And so we use it for that was what it's designed for anyway, to create books, but we use it for creating our online documentation. And so you can do things like the search bar and all the sort of common architecture stuff, like the drop downs at the top and the navigation at the side and select different versions, all of that stuff. You can just sort of scaffold it with Antora.
Yeah, it's Spring Framework documentation. Okay, here we go. So just having a search that actually works, like Kotlin, whatever, and now you can just find the results and then be taken to it, and you have like relevant links and nice hierarchies and all that. All this is just Antora. It took ages to get working, but it pays for itself, I think.
Yeah, so out of the box, it was designed for books, I think, and not really for documentation websites. But we've kind of evolved it and extended it, and we've got a nice framework there now, which is, I think, as far as I know, is open source, so anybody else could use it if they wanted to.
Yep, that's our old friend Mojave Linux, Dan Allen.
Dan, yeah, he's a great asset, isn't he? He's amazing.
Amazing.
Good to have him as a friend.
Yeah, and I have a life-size picture of him releasing something as big and amazing as that without it being open source. It would never happen. It would just be so weird. Okay, so let's see. What else do we have? Anything here? Spring Boot 3.1.2 came out yesterday. Yes, big release. Well, I mean, relatively minor, but like 60 whatever plus issues. That was reading through some of those between puking last night. Between pukes. Okay, Atomic Jar has donated the Test Containers Cloud desktop app to the community. I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, I saw Sergey posting about that.
Amazing. Okay, so yes, talking about Visual Studio Code. You wrote a great blog back during the middle of the height of the pandemic, and I remember because it's so rare I had time to sit there and read these longer scrawls, but you wrote it, and I actually had a time to read the whole thing because
it was a long one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the long ones. I just didn't get a chance to Sometimes I don't get a chance to read it all in one sitting, and because I have an airport to go to or something else to do. But this is the pandemic. What was I going to do? Go to bed? So it was great. It was a client side. It was a perspective on using Spring to build client side applications. And what was the motivation? What?
Well, like you said, it was pandemic, so nobody had anything else to do. But well, I mean, I've always been interested in, what in my role as the tech lead. What's next? What are people using Spring for, and how could we help them? So client-side development's always been sort of a little bit semi-detached, right? So I mean, we've made little forays into there, and we've had our various projects that haven't really contributed very much, frankly. So I'm always just monitoring it and trying to work out how Spring could help, if it can, to make life easier for people who have to build web UIs basically. And so that was the perspective for the blog that I did. I just incidentally I just updated it this week, so it's like good timing, I suppose. I've just updated it to Spring Boot 3.1 and tidied up the notes a little bit. So I didn't change the blog on spring.io, but the README in the repository, if you wanted to find that, that's it's in github.com/dsyer. I think it's obvious. I think it's just called Spring Boot JS demo or something like that. If you look now, it'll be near the top of the list of repositories because I just edited I just updated all the Spring versions.
Spring Boot JS demo. Okay, so is this all about how to use Dojo?
It would have been in 2005. That's the thing about JavaScript, right? Isn't it? It just changes so much. So you just can't have a rest because in 6 months, it'll be something different. And I don't know. I mean, all the things on that list from 2001, I feel like they're still sort of relevant. So
what list?
In the blog. So what did I look at? I looked at Htmx, Turbo, React.
You're talking about 21. I heard 2001.
Yeah, 21. Sorry, did I say 2001? I meant 21. Yeah, 2 years, only 2 years ago. So all the things on that list are still current, right?
I think so too. More so than ever, actually. I think there's a recoil from the complexity sometimes of React. I mean, even when React first came out, it was a meme about how complicated it is, and I make no bones about it. It's far more complicated for me to build a client-side application these days than it is to build something on the server side that can handle great scale and users and all that.
I mean, I included it because it's so popular. I didn't include it because I like it, but I can see why people use it. I mean, I can understand when I read the source code for a site that's written in React. I can understand what's going on. I can see what they're doing, but so that's good. There's something positive there.
I quite like Vue, but even there, I'm for a huge host of applications. I just sort of think it doesn't have to be that. I actually
overkill. Yeah,
it is. It just feels because you have to reinvent a lot of the stuff. You get into I had this great discussion with oh dear, what was his name? Sorry, bear with me here. With Santosh Yadav. He was on the show 2 months ago, right? And one of my all-time favorite episodes because he's like you, but for JavaScript and the front end and Angular, just a endless fount of knowledge around all things client-side. And he made it seem so simple, but then I kind of parsed it, and Yeah, it is simple if you're him, and I think a lot of people would levy the same charge at us. They'd say, "Oh, well, all those things you're doing, it's so simple because you're you." But he was talking about building client-side applications and then using technologies that does server-side rendering and then optimizing for SEO and basically just reintroducing all the things you get when you have just static HTML. Um, and it seems cool. And he's talking about the performance gains you get from this and that, and I'm just going, maybe we could just. It just seems like we lost the plot. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, the thing that I kind of sticks in my throat with React is just the lack of control I've got over the size of the thing at the end of the day, right? It seems like it's just megabytes and even gigabytes of code get downloaded every time I build one of those projects, and I hate to think how much of that gets actually bundled into the app, right? And so my poor users have to download it. So one of the motivations of that blog was to try and find something small, as lightweight as possible that I could use in a modern way, like in a nice, progressive, user-friendly way. And I did think that Htmx was probably the winner for that because it is very small. And I don't know. What I should do is probably write a real application with Htmx and see how much I like it then. But
what's a real?
Really to do that. I don't know. I mean, like we could rewrite start.spring.io, for instance, and use Htmx. That would be a good test.
What about Pet Clinic?
Pet Clinic. Well, Pet Clinic doesn't have any JavaScript right now, so I mean, there is an HTMX version of Pet Clinic. I think I can't remember if it was me that did it. Somebody did it. It's in the Spring Pet Clinic organization in GitHub. So that's quite achievable, but I don't know if it proves anything because it's not real. It didn't start as a real front end application.
Oh, okay. So what I was going to say was, to me, taking those legacy applications and then being able to just add just a sprinkle on a few attributes, and suddenly they're dynamic.
Right. Maybe that's a better use case. Maybe you're right. That's probably a better way to think about HTMX and friends.
You mentioned one thing you and I were talking about the other day was HTMX has this thing where you can send back a header and then trigger an event, and so you get the best of both worlds. You can render markup on the server side, and that gets inline.
Then you can sneak in and do stuff in JavaScript if you want to. Yeah, you could, you could import jQuery and go mad.
Just talk about that, listener. Yeah, that really is powerful.
Yeah, I haven't started playing with that much yet. I think I would like to, because you can do things that users like with that kind of technology, right? It's event driven, so things like popping up dialog boxes and light boxes, whatever they used to call them. Those kinds of use cases that you see all the time in web applications, you can do those really easily with HTMX.
Modals.
HX trigger, it's called. Yeah,
that. And I did a live stream I don't know, a few days ago, a week ago, something like that, looking at HTMX and Timeleaf and Spring Boot. And
did you? Right, yeah. Because there's that library by Wim de Blauw, right, which I'm really keen on. Yeah, I saw you using that. Yeah,
I quite liked it because it feels it feels like a logical thing. You may not ever need it, but if you need it, it's obvious why you need it. And
Ollie Gierke started that. Dropbound, I have to call him now. Yeah, he started a project in that area. I don't think Vim took it over. I think Vim just used the same ideas. But Ollie's project was a kind of smaller scope. I saw that. I don't know. It's probably 4 or 5 years ago. It's a while ago. I don't know how long HTMX has been around, but Vim has taken those ideas and kind of gone nuts with them. So it's a really interesting project. Yeah, I like it. It's called Spring Boot Timeleaf HTMX or something, isn't it? It's got Timeleaf in the library name, but it isn't very Timeleaf oriented. I think it could be more generalized than that. I haven't spoken to Vim about it. If he's listening, then I'd be quite happy to have a conversation about that, because I've done some prototyping on my own of other templating languages like the other ones that people use, and also ones that I use that other people
Right.
don't use. But
Well,
yeah,
let's talk about that.
we could talk about that for a bit. Yeah, we don't have much longer, do we? So yeah.
No, but you're not talking about JSP, surely.
I don't think anybody uses JSPs, and if they do, they should really question their life choices, as you always say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. JSPs makes me sad. So what are the other? We've got Time Leaf. I quite like Time Leaf, and as you and I were talking about the other day, the out of the box experience with Time Leaf when you use it in an AOT GraalVM image, it just works. I don't know how it works. It just does.
I don't know how it works. Yeah, it's a mystery to me how they did that, but it seems to not require any runtime hints for native images, so that's a plus. It does require them. I just think they're automatically generated. We didn't see them, right? Somebody already took care of it in the AOT processing. So because for sure all the template interactions, the template rendering requires reflection. So to do that in a native image, you're going to need to tell GraalVM what you're going to do at compile time. So I don't know who did that, but somebody was clever enough to make it work. I haven't seen it break yet. I don't know. I have a nervous feeling every time I do a native image build with templating, it's going to break, but I haven't seen it break yet. You're right.
Language.
Yeah, so that brings up another topic, right? So I haven't written any blogs about this yet, but one of my research topics in the last year or so has been looking for the search for basically reflection-free templates. So it strikes me that if we can do this AOT processing thing in Spring, then you should be able to do it for templates generally, right? You should be able to somehow at compile time make a list of all the not just make a list of all the reflection calls you're going to make and declare them to GraalVM, but you should be able to just do it like without reflection, right? Generate some code that basically renders a template instead of it being, so you take a nice text-based template and turn it into a Java object basically that knows how to render itself. So I went looking for such a thing and I found one that I think I would hold up and say, yeah, that works, and that's called JStatio. I don't know if you can just bring that up on the browser.
Is that the Java template demo?
Is that what? Sorry,
Java template demo.
It's in my Java template demo. Yeah, there's a branch there called JStatio. But that isn't in the blog from 2021. I don't think it existed then. But there used to be something called what was it called? It was basically reflection-free mustache. So that's what JStatio is. It's mustache. So we have support for mustache in Spring Boot from the JMustache project, but that's very reflection-based, and also it's a slightly old subset of the complete mustache spec. So there's this other thing that I came across called JStatio. I just saw it there quickly. Yeah. So Josh has just checked out a very lightly documented, very small demo that I made just to show how a bunch of different Java-based templating languages work, and JStatio is the one that's the most reflection-free. I should say. It literally doesn't. You can generate a native image from that with no extra configuration, and that's what I like about it. So the key features there you can see that. So demo model you just looked at has an @JStash annotation which tells it where to find the template. So it should be an index.mustache, and there you've got. Get this there. There we go. Yeah, so that's the correspondence. You can see the name of the model gets translated into the name in the mustache, and basically that text file on the right is turned into generated code at runtime. So in the demo controller, you just need to create an instance of demo model, and then Spring will go off and render it. So you can see how I'm doing that in the view method there. I'm creating a JMustachio model view of the demo model, and it's all just Java, right?
This is a Spring framework.
That's the Spring framework. Yeah, so Gestaccio has some Spring integration packed into Spring Boot starter, and so you can sort of just use it like that. I mean, Spring has always worked that way, right? Spring MVC allows you to return a view from a controller method, and if you don't have any runtime reflection based text templates, there's no reason for that to be a string. It's kind of the motivation behind this. There's actually a lot of different things you can do here with JStatShow. This is just my favorite way of doing it. You could also return demo model from that view method, and it would also render the HTML for you.
Really? Okay, so I'm gonna try this out now. So, what is all this JStash path flags, blah blah blah? Like,
so the first bit, the path is just telling it that I put my templates in the normal Spring Boot location. You might need to just Maven package it to start with, just to generate the code. So it's an APT processor. So if your IDE doesn't pick up the compiler settings, then it's not going to generate the code for you. So if that was successful, then now the code is available. I don't know if IntelliJ is smart enough to work out where it is, but
clearly not. But
VS Code does it. Yep. Just saying.
Oh, that's money. Look at that.
So that's the generated HTML, yeah. And you would find in target generated sources, you would find the generated source code.
Target generated sources. Wow. This is the renderer.
Yeah.
Wow. So that gets all. Oh, that's great. So there's no. That's why there's no reflection. It's just literally
it is pure Java. Yeah.
Does it know about Spring? Did it add this?
Yeah, I asked it to do that. I had to ask it. You don't have to do that, but that's just an option. So now that will be a bean as well. So in the package info Java, I think it might tell it to do that. So it can, when it generates the code, it can add additional interfaces and annotations. I think I.
Oh wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, look. So that's just there's no reason to do that in this demo, but it just shows that it's possible.
Oh wow. Okay, so that is really amazing. So that's really nice because it's type safe. You're never just dealing with strings. You're passing a model around, and if the model doesn't line up with the attributes in the template, what happens?
You'll get a compiler error, and which can be a little bit irritating because, as you've noticed, the IDE doesn't always pick up.
So cool.
Yeah, so there you go. So when you compile in VS Code, I'll see a compiler error in the IDE. I don't know how you tell IntelliJ to do that. Maybe we should figure that out before we start getting excited about it. But I mean, people use APT processors in IntelliJ, right? So it must be possible.
Yep, I'm sure there is. I just don't know, and it's fine. Like I'm using a Spring Boot run, it's fine.
Yeah, that works. Probably if you just tell IntelliJ to use Maven to build or something, that would do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Does it work if it's not public?
I think so. Because it's only referred to in my controller, right? So
yeah. What about records? Like, does it need to be a?
Yeah, it all the examples in JStatShow are actually records, so that would work as a record. There's nothing stopping in that one. I often use Pojos just because I want to add behavior to them, and records are immutable, so you can't, like there are things that you do in web applications, like adding CSRF tokens, for instance, that you just want to happen in the background. You don't want to have to do that every time you build a demo model. You don't want to have to add the CSRF token. So you have to put that in. You have to put that in like an interceptor or something, some helper customizer, I guess you'd call it. And they have a facility for that. That was actually a feature that I implemented for JStatShow and contributed. But then you don't want to use records because you need to be able to mutate the models to add the like infrastructure, the cross-cutting concerns like CSRF and I don't know, menu items and whatever you would do that was the same on every page.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it's
right.
nice, yeah. It's quite slick, I think.
What about templating? That's a good point. How do you do like? Oh, here's your layout.
Yeah, so this is a mustache feature that I didn't know about because it's not in JMustache, but you see those less than layout
Right.
markups in the middle there. So that is I think that's called a parent template. I mean, effectively, you can use it to do includes and
Right.
uh,
How
share
does it?
layouts and things like that.
How do I know which border template or whatever, which container gets used? Let's see.
Well, less than layout is going to use the template called layout.
Oh, okay, right. It's not like a magic. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So body. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so I like this one. JStachio is another type. So time leaf should work, but this definitely does work. It's a.
It doesn't. It'll be smaller and faster in the images as well because there is no reflection.
Wow.
It's really fast. Even if you just use it on the JVM, it's really fast.
Yeah, very very clearly. So
So
that's good.
I kind of like that. Yeah. The other ones I dug up were called Rocker and JTE. So those are Java-based templating languages, but they don't end up being reflection-free. So you have to do a load of hints for GraalVM. But those are, if anybody was interested, those are the other branches in the repository there. So the main branch is actually JTE, and the example code that is there is a copy of a sample from JTE.
So wait, you said there's also Rocker?
And Rocker, there's another branch there called Rocker, I believe.
Rocker, yes. Okay, so JTE. This one's the one that Thomas.
Thomas likes
likes.
JTE, yeah.
So
Yeah,
what's
I
the?
don't dislike it, but so JTE and Rocker, they're similar and they look a little bit similar. If you look at the templates, they kind of have their own. So in that one, there's a source main JTE with the templates defined in it. If you
Source
just
main. Where are you?
go down a bit, there's a JTE directory there, down
Okay.
there, yeah. So that's what a template looks like. So you do this at import for Java object types, and then at param to say I'm going to give you an object called model of type demo model, and you can render it. So it's kind of reminiscent of JSP actually, not that different. Although I don't think they have logic. I think they're just logicless JSPs basically.
Okay, I like this.
And
this looks nice.
in common with JStachio, it's a code generator. So if when you run Maven package here, it'll generate a bunch of code that renders that template basically. The trouble is it doesn't render it reflection free. it still uses reflection to access the models.
Did you write hints for this, or you just had to register for reflection?
There will be some hints there if you got the latest version, I think. Yeah. So you can see the extent of the hint. There isn't much in that one. There's more actually in the Rocker one.
Okay. So what is it? Do these templates? Is it the idea that you get validation based on the parameter? Like
So similarly, you'll get a compiler if you use
like this a lot.
A thing that doesn't exist in the model. So it's sort of type safe in some ways, but it's not reflection free.
Okay, but still pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, and then the other one is Rocker, you said.
Rocker. Yeah, Rocker, the template looks kind of similar. There's a lot of similarities between the two. They have slightly different Java APIs, and so that the infrastructure ends up kind of the implementation's a little bit different. But
view resolver, okay. Oh, you had to create your own view.
Yeah, I did the same thing for JTE. I think that's
gnarly. Okay.
Yeah. So in that one, it's source main resources templates is where the templates live. I should just use the Spring Boot kind of conventions for that. And you can see they're kind of similar looking.
That looks really nice. What is this bit right here? Template. Oh, we've got a layout.
Yeah, that's actually a Lambda. It's odd, isn't it?
Instead of Java, Lambda, for real.
Well, I mean, it isn't, but it's a similar syntax.
Does that work?
I don't know. Try it. You have to recompile, yes. I'm guessing it's just going to render that in the template. But
Sure, hope so.
yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's not actually Java. They just kind of borrowed some syntax, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, it's got a few more features, I guess. JT is simpler, but probably in some ways better for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I prefer JStatio just because it's completely reflection free. That's my
And fast. Yeah.
and fast, and it uses Mustache, and it's kind of standard Mustache. So you can go to whatever the Mustache website is. It's not mustache.org, but there's a place where there's a spec, and he actually implements the spec pretty much. I mean, not completely, but yeah, that's probably it. Available in so there's probably a sort of generic.
They don't mention Java at all.
That's odd, isn't it?
No,
Yeah, they surely do. They do.
But, so this is different from.
But that isn't even the one that we use in Spring Boot.
Oh.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it?
Oh wow, there's like 3 different Java implementations, and probably the most prolific one is not this one. Probably the one.
Yeah, probably the one that's most used is JMustache, I should think. But that, like I said, it's sort of a subset of the actual Mustache spec at this point. So you can't do those less than, greater than include things. For instance, it's a different
let's
different
see.
setup.
So somebody's asking. Simon's asking if we wanted to port something to Antora, get in touch with Rob Winch. No, maybe not. I don't know. He's busy.
Well, Rob's the expert, but he's very busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would talk to Dan Allen.
Yeah, Dan Allen's more than out there. Frederick Hahn did a Spring Boot starter for JTE.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I stole the code from it. It was so my example used his sample code.
Nice. Okay. Well, this is so right now the Htmx stuff I did in that video. I should probably look at updating it. Maybe I can try just JStatio. I don't know much about. So there's Velocity, FreeMarker, and Mustache, and these are the ones that require you to put stuff in your markup that isn't valid.
Isn't valid markup. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And it's a far sight better than JSP, which requires you to put angle brackets inside of attributes inside of angle brackets, right? Which is
FreeMarker is the worst in terms of ugliness, but yeah. Mustache is. I think I've done a couple of blogs over the years with Mustache, and you can sort of write natural templates with Mustache because the browser ignores the handlebars, so you can kind of put stuff inside handlebars that it just gets ignored by the browser, and you can cheat that way. But anyway, yeah. I've always liked Mustache. It's simple. The logicless part of it is what kind of makes it for me. There's just so little to remember.
Yes,
there's not much that can go wrong.
That's what I love. I'm all about. I think this is the thing. And the other thing is, you and I were talking about this, and I was complaining that I had trouble getting the reset cycle for editing templates to be as fast as I wanted. Again, this is a limitation in my setup with IntelliJ, not what the Spring team has designed. So if you're using Visual Studio Code and using DevTools, it'll set the cache for the template to be false. It'll say don't cache templates, and as soon as you change it, it'll immediately reflect that change without even doing a restart. It doesn't even do a DevTools.
It also so it switches the caching off in the template engine, and it also switches the file watcher off on the DevTools restart. So it likes two-pronged attack there. But yeah, it works really well. I don't know why IntelliJ users suffer this so much. That Josh and I have been working on IntelliJ issue, trying to get them to fix this and make it a bit more usable. But yeah, DevTools has always worked much better in Eclipse and VS Code for some reason.
I just noticed that. I didn't even know what I was missing because it works fine for class file changes. and most of the time I don't do templates anyway, so I didn't know it was supposed to be something else.
Yeah.
Funny.
Daniel's asking about Spring Native. So Spring Native doesn't exist anymore, right? So there is no supported version of Spring Native.
Yeah.
If that wasn't was that the question? I don't know.
Use Spring Boot 3 and use AOT, the AOT engine. And if you want to learn more about the AOT engine, and I know you do, then you should just let me share my screen here, and then go to.
Thanks to Sean.
This and this. So there's a. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I did a 2-hour deep dive video introducing the AOT engine. Is in Spring. It's a super detailed, like everything you ever wanted to know, from library to architect to user, and back again. And then also, if you don't want to watch 2 hours of yours truly, and I can't say I blame you, then I also wrote a book you can download for free, and it's 50 pages. You can read it on the throne and be done with it. It's everything you never know, and everything you never wanted to know about Spring Boot 3 AOT. Or you could do both. They are from the same source material, though, so you'll see some redundancies. But basically, there's that. Okay.
Okay, we've nearly had an hour. I'm gonna have to go and get lunch.
Gotta go. I appreciate you, Doc. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. It was fun, Doc. Thank you for all the endless patience and bon appetit.
No problem. Well, we can go through the questions and get back to people later, can't we?
Right. Okay. Say goodbye to Dr. Syer, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, that was awesome. That was great. Thank you, everybody, for such cool questions. I just love when you can have really smart people that join the stream. Because I literally just did this video on Htmx and Timeleaf just a week ago, not even a week ago, and then of course that begat this whole great conversation that took me down a lot of little rabbit holes, and of course at the end of every rabbit hole is the good Dr. Syer, who's already been there. So thank you, Dr. Syer, for joining us, and everybody else. Thanks for hanging out today, and have a good weekend. I just realized it's the end of the day here for me in Kuala Lumpur. Right, it's 7:30 in the evening, but for the west, further west, it's lunchtime in Europe, and then early morning in for example, west coast of California or of the United States. So have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.